done with this? Why am I going back? Oh, I have this upside down. Alright. Okay, so like I showed you, the Facebook Messenger. So Facebook announced its availability of the Messenger platform. It's still in beta, but they announced it, I think, about a month or so back. Right, so it officially supports the development of bots for Facebook Messenger. This is the first time they're officially saying, okay, get your bots on there as businesses. They formalize a bunch of policies, guidelines for bots, that is what your bot can do, can't do, what are the rules, what you may do which will cause your bot. So I think as developers it's important, if any of you are planning to develop bots, to make sure you know what these policies are, because there's a lot of, people are very tender with this whole field right now. They don't know what's going to happen. So they're being very careful. They might pull your bot out suddenly and say, you violated a policy, right? So it's important to know that. Now, what have they introduced? They've introduced, to give it the app field. So these are three main capabilities of it. They've introduced send and receive APIs. Obviously, you need them if you're going to have your commerce being done on using a bot on their platform. You need APIs to send and receive messages. That's a simple thing. But this is the first time they've officially given you send and receive APIs. Like I showed you, they've given you generic message templates. You can customize these very easily. You can have products, you can put prices, you can show bills, you can show invoices, you can show boarding passes and say yes, print it, don't print it. So a lot of structured templates are available. Minimal to no coding required on all those things. And to give it more of an app kind of feel is a welcome screen plus null, what they call null state CPAs, which is what I showed you. When you go to HiPoncho, the user has to control, saying that I want to get started on this. Until that happens, even if the bot knows, let's say if you're on WhatsApp, you can message me if you know my phone number, right? You still can't get a conversation started until I actively accept it. So that's what they call the null state call to action. I have to say, yes, I want to converse with this bot on the platform. Very interestingly, Facebook has also announced it is providing natural language assistance, because you've seen that HiPoncho uses a lot of natural language assistance, even CNN to some lesser extent, but it does. And how they're doing it is they're doing it through their acquisition of this company called Wit.ai. Wit.ai was a very small, less than 10 people company founded in October 2013. It was a Y Combinator startup. And they built this natural language parser called Wit.ai. Facebook acquired it last January. And so they're extending Wit.ai to the Messenger platform for you to use. So what is, okay, I already covered it. Okay. So yeah, so it basically helps you create conversational bots by giving you some natural language processing capabilities. And like I mentioned some time back, basic premise is you want to get structured data out of commonly used sentences, natural language. Now, how does Wit.ai do it? And I think I just want to give you a very brief, even I'm just about a few days into Wit.ai, but it's very interesting. But just to give you a feel for how it does it. So it's basically, it's an engine which says that, you know what, you say I want to build my app, you say, okay, you start with a clean slate. And you have Wit.ai waiting. And you've got to give Wit stories. You want to make stories. What are stories? Stories are essentially, you know what, my consumer or my customer might come into the platform and first say hi. What do I do? I'm expected to respond to that. Then we may come and ask, what's the weather like today? Okay, so if you ask what's the weather like today, am I missing information? Yeah, typically if anyone just asks me what's the weather today, I've got to ask, and Wit starts learning. That's a machine learning part of it. Wit starts learning that, okay, these are the kind of conversations you expect your customers to have with you. And it starts building up its understanding and repository of terms and entities. The second big thing is you define what are called entities within Wit. Okay, and I'll just try and to give you a better thing. Let me see if I can just show you Wit. So Wit currently is hosted on GitHub. Okay, all of you familiar with GitHub? Okay, so basically to use Wit, it's open source. So to use Wit, you basically need a GitHub account, and you can just get started. It's very easy. You just get started on fooling around with Wit. It's fairly intuitive. Is this maximized? Oh, okay, so this is what your Wit console looks like. Okay, so you first say, okay, I want to create an app. Here, if you see up here, I say I want to create an application called Learning Bit. Just saying I'm messing around to learn Bit. It says, okay. You see on the top, you have a lot of this stuff. You don't have to worry about some of this now. For example, your logs inbox will really come into play only when you have a lot of API calls and it's logging all those activities and all of that. So all that's not there right now. So in terms of teaching Wit, I just wanted to take you through. So you have this concept called stories, and that's what I was telling you. You have to create stories. Right? And so this is a story I was creating this morning just because I didn't want to waste time in the session. So you say, okay, I want to create a story. There's this link here, you say I want to create keep creating new stories. So story first could be, you say, okay, user says, hi bot. Okay, then it says that, okay, you know what, you can either, there's this concept called merge, which basically you can set context. Context in the purview of this whole console is where you want to say that I'm actually going to pull out some structured data from this conversation, which I will need that data to be pervasive through my subsequent stories, subsequent processing. So it's kind of like making it a global variable kind of concept, right? So you can pull context out and you define entities, right? So obviously in hi bot, I'm not defining any entity. I'm saying it's just someone just comes on and says hi bot, right? So then I say, okay, if someone says this, you just say this, okay? And then you continue building your story. So for example here, now again, so here's the concept of entity. So let's say that this is, I was thinking that I'm trying to simulate, let's say I'm doing a food ordering bot. Right, because I think that would be a great idea because I honestly don't know which restaurant is on Swiggy, which is on Zomato, which is on where. You never know which app to open to order. So can you just have a bot to figure stuff out for you? So let's assume that hypothetically you want to do that. So then he says, I'd like to order some food. Now here you have to create, so for in Wit, you have to create what are called entities and intents. For Wit to understand what you're doing, there has to be an intent. The first step is to define an intent. So when I'm saying that when someone says I'd like to order some food, they are stating an intent. So I add this entity called intent. It's fairly easy. You can just add entities by just, you can create your own entities. There are some default entities. So I say intent, and what is the value I give to this intent? Saying order. They want to order something to the bot. So the intent is to order. Okay? And so then I continue with that story. It says, great, I'm here to help. And I said, we've only got pizzas. Because I don't want to make it too complicated. So I said, we've only got pizzas. So what would you like? So just to explain how further this goes, I say, let's say he says, I want cheese pizza. Again, I'm using the same intent entity. But here the intent of this conversation is different. Here I'm saying the intent is to define my order. And these are all user created. I'm just giving them tags. How I use these tags is my job later. The processing of the information that comes out is my job, which is handled outside of Wit. Wit will not handle the processing of your data. Remember I told you, it just is responsible for pulling structured data out of natural language. So all of this that I'm doing is to be able to pull out structured data. When I actually code what needs to be done with this data, I use all of these intents and contexts there. Now here I define another entity saying pizza topping. Because I know, right now, like I told you, our bot currently is only going to deal with pizzas. So I don't need to define type of food pizza. That's irrelevant to this complete story, right? So I just say that I define another entity, say pizza topping. And if you see here, I can then start using my entities in further conversations. I no longer need to say cheese is a great choice. If he makes it cheese something else, that something else is a great choice. And how does Wit learn? So I'll show you this example. So if you have this understanding where it helps you figure out how Wit is understanding stuff. Okay, so here remember what I did was I created this thing called pizza topping. Right? Now with every entity, you define what is called a search strategy. And these are very important concepts in dealing with any natural language. So you want this system to try to be able to understand what are pizza toppings. From any conversation, any sentence, anywhere, what is a pizza topping? So you can say that, you know what, this is a keyword search, where I'm keeping my life simple, I'm making Wit's life simple. I'm saying there are a finite number of pizza toppings I offer, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, that are available in my restaurant. I will say keyword search. Whatever falls within these keywords is a pizza topping. Whatever doesn't fall in these keywords is not a pizza topping. I can also then go one step further and say, you know what, I want to enable free text. This is where actually trying to bring in the machine learning part. We're trying to say, you know what, I'm not going to define all the pizza toppings that exist. You got to start figuring it out. Okay? So let's say if you do free text, let me say, okay, here I defined, if you see barbecue chicken and cheese, right? So let me go up here and let's see if it can understand if I say pepperoni pizza. I have not defined pepperoni anywhere. Okay? Identified pepperoni as a pizza topping, in spite of me not defining it. Now I can correct it over here. So this understanding tab is, it may do things wrong and while I'm training it. So here in this understanding tab, I can correct it if it's doing something wrong. And here actually it's done something really smart. It's saying, yeah, my intent is someone who's obviously trying to order food. And the pizza topping is pepperoni. So even by giving just two examples, this is a blank slate because this is my app, it's not trained by the rest of the world. I gave it two examples, barbecue chicken, cheese. It just knows, probably, I'm saying probably just figure out, boss, pizza se pehle, whatever word comes is a pizza topping. That may be the pattern it has identified.
If you go into the, it might say born to the top.
It might say burn to the top. Right? It may have identified that pattern. So then what, so to take, I'll take his example, right? So here if I say big pizza, pizza topping is big, okay? So here when you're training it, you can see you come down and say, no, this is not right. And then you're going to say validate. You're training the system. If someone just says big, this happens when you choose free text. So free text you're trying, it's going through its whole dictionary of English that it knows. It's saying I can use any term. So you're trying to then train it saying if someone put big, it's not a topping. But then you have to give it lots and lots and lots of stories, try to make it understand. Right? So let's go back to the story we were creating. Now see what happened. It's all gotten messed up. Why has this happened? This has happened because I said try and identify pizza toppings, and I've really not trained the system. I've given it like 2 sentences in all. You can try and teach a newborn kid in 2 sentences what is a pizza topping, good for you. But this is like a newborn kid, right? It's going to make mistakes. It's going to make lots of mistakes. You've got to keep reinforcing those mistakes. The moment I take a free text and say, you know what, stick to these keywords, and now see it's already, because I had enabled free text, it's come here and taken all these keywords. I say, no boss, you've gone totally haywire. Okay, so I come here and say, you know what, high can't be a pizza topping. Okay, order can't be a pizza topping. Food can't be a pizza topping. I'm deleting all these because I just want to show you how that conversation would look like, and I don't want it to mess up. Okay, so now I've corrected all the garbage I had done, right? Yeah, so my pizza topping is keywords, barbecue chicken and cheese. Similarly, I have a pizza size. I'm saying is again a keyword, medium, small and large. These are my only sizes I take. Right, so I'm keeping it really simple. Now I go back. Okay, trait, if any of you want to know trait. Trait in this system is the most complex form other than free text keyword. Trait is telling Wit that you cannot understand this entity by taking any one word. The sentence as a whole is a trait. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're trying to get your bot to understand emotion. If someone says, no, I'm feeling crappy today. And you want your bot to understand that this person is feeling, the emotion, you want to define something called emotion. And say, the emotion is sad. So play him a happy song. Or give him 20% discount. Yeah, then your users will catch on soon and everybody will tell you they're feeling crappy. But I'm just saying that, but you're saying that context of emotion, you're saying you can't decipher it from one word. It's a trait. I want you to look at the whole text sent to you, and it's a trait, and you've got to somehow try and figure out through your learning algorithms that this trait, when someone says this, the emotion is sad. Or someone says, I lost my job today. Emotion can still be defined with that sentence, saying he is sad. Could define another emotion saying he is suicidal today, but we'll stick to sad. Right? So trait is to say that get context out of a complete string of text without trying to decipher meanings. So you guys have learned quite a bit of, so see now it's taken off all those random pizza toppings, it was interesting, right? So at any point in time when I'm building a story, I can just say to test it out. I can say I want to chat with my bot, right? So then I come in and I say, okay, it's giving me the right response. So how can I help? So then say I'd like to order some food. Says I'm here to help. You've got pizzas, more pizzas and love. What would you like? Right? So I say, great. Since I've done a keyword thing, I'm going to stick to my defined keywords and say I want a cheese pizza. Okay, remember I got that context in. I don't need to define it automatically. No, so it says cheese is a great choice because I just want to show you how I can use my defined entities in further lines of the communication. So it says cheese is a great choice. You want a large, medium, or small pizza? And I say, okay, I want a large. Okay, so you can build your story. So and you can test out your stories with your bot responding correctly. And you keep building these stories. There are obviously further nuances. You've got to create context. Context, like I told you, is to create. You want to pull out some variables which you can use globally. And then once you're done, you've created all these stories. They have a very extensive, which if you're looking at building bots, they have a very extensive. So they allow you then. They have a Node.js, Python, Ruby, SDK, the code, and all of it. You can clone whatever you created in Bit. You will get all the code down with you. You put the actual processing inside. Right. So let me show one thing I didn't show you here. Okay. So this is a conversation story. Now let's say at the end of all of this, right? Now I've said cheese pizza large. Now I need to place that order somewhere. I need to actually execute something, right? So you always come here and then you say that, you know what, you have an option of saying either bot just responds to the user's message with something else, or you say here bot egg. This is where you will place, if someone's asking, let's say in High Poncho they ask for the weather. This is where they'll put the code to call an API to some weather service, pull the weather out and then feed it back to you, right? So you say bot executes and then you define your function. And this is what I told you, remember, function will take your entire context as the input. Context is a neat little holding set of data of all the stuff you wanted stored about. So I would store pizza topping into the context. I would here define pizza topping as a context. I would define pizza size as a context. So all of this gets fed into my function. There I will have, let's say, all the code I need to actually place the order. And all of this code I have to create and it runs on my end. It will not run on its end. Right? So like I was saying, they have pretty extensive very, very smart conversational bot. Okay, I'm going to just quickly wrap up now. I've lost my mouse pointer. One of the things Apple has been promising but has not done so far is a feature in the MacBook where if you shake your hand quickly on the mouse pad, it expands the pointer to like this big, so you know where the damn thing is. Right? And trust me, everyone who uses computers is really thankful for that feature. The number of times you lose your mouse pointer is not fun. Okay, so very quickly. So now that's just the how do you go about it. But there are, like I was mentioning further, practical consideration. Always keep in mind, what is the problem in your case, what is the problem your customer is trying to address? Are you trying to create a line of support? Are you trying to make something fun? Are you trying to do something hardcore function? What are you trying to address, and hence, what is the value proposition to the end customer that you're trying to build? Don't go beyond, don't try and do everything under the sun. It is not going to work, right? Be very aware of context and value. What are your UX goals from the board? By UX, I mean user experience, right? So what kind of an experience do you want to give the user? Just the ability to get right information, or you want it to be like Poncho, a fun, frivolous kind of offbeat kind of interaction. So what's the kind of UX you're looking for? Most importantly, how will you ensure a consistent experience? Too much of time has been wasted in this field by people giving inconsistent experiences. It works one day, it doesn't work one day, works the third day, it doesn't work consistently. So bots is the way to go, right? Not apps. Anybody still doesn't think bots is the way to go? It's one of the ways to go. It's definitely